As a Muslim man in the 21st century, we really only have two routes to choose from. We can either just be an average Abdul and just live our life listening to our parents, getting a degree on something we don't care about, just basically just being dependent on them and never developing our own opinions. And the funny thing is, 80% of Muslims say they don't want to be this guy, but they actually end up living like this their whole life. They're either unhappy at their job or they just can't find a job in the first place. Now, the second route is being a Muslim on self-improvement. Now, you might hear me say this and think, well, I'm definitely a guy on self-improvement, 100%. But truthfully speaking, not too many Muslims can actually manage this life because this involves you deviating from your family completely and having your own opinions. I'm not saying you have to move out of your house, but you have to somehow develop your own opinions. I'm going to explain to you why being on self-improvement is so much harder for us Muslims specifically. Think about this, right? There's order and then there's chaos. At the moment, being dependent on your family, listening to everything they're saying, following their opinions, is basically order. We know what's going to happen because we have a clear example of them, they're still alive, alhamdulillah, maybe they're successful. So it's very easy to just copy what they did and just copy their lifestyle. And then on the other hand, you have chaos. And the thing about chaos is it can either be really good or it can be really, really bad. And for us Muslims, it's specifically dangerous because chaos is going to take you to the haram route very, very easily. Even as I say something like you have to create your own opinions, this is very scary. I have to be careful with what I say because if you only do what you feel like doing, you're just going to be doing a bunch of haram stuff. You're going to be a degenerate. But I'm assuming if you watch my videos, you're not a moron. What I want you to do, I actually want you to understand what your purpose is in life. Like, sure enough, with your family, maybe they have very great opinions, but they're not going to match you because we live in a whole different world now. The world they grew up in, maybe, in a different country, in a Muslim country, in a different time period, what worked for them, it's not going to work for you. I can tell you that 100%. What do I mean by finding your own purpose? I'm going to give you an example from my life. For a majority of my young life, I was a bit of a degenerate. When I was in high school, when I finished high school, I basically had a double life, right? I went out and I did a whole bunch of degenerate things. I'm not going to get into details, but you know what I mean. I'm hanging out with people that I shouldn't be hanging out with. I'm like basically going to McDonald's every day after school, after uni. Like I'm just an unhealthy and undisciplined person. I was actually going to uni back then because I thought that's the best way to go, as what my parents told me. And I thought for a while, why am I such a degenerate? Why am I doing these things that they don't even make me happy? All they bring me is anxiety and depression. But for some reason, I keep coming back to it. And then I realize why it actually is. I bet this is the same reason you do the things you do as well. It's because of repression. For a majority of my life, probably like yourself, I've had to live in a world where everything was restricted. I could only follow order. I could only do things that I had to do. It was just black and white, good and bad. So now it's almost like a mental revenge. It's like the part of your brain that was repressed your whole life comes out and takes out revenge on you, on your family, on everything. And it basically creates this double persona. One that literally does all the degenerate things that you wanted to do your whole life, but you couldn't even think about it. And the other one where when you're hanging out with your family, like I was, and I would just act religious, like Alhamdulillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The way I got out of this complete degeneracy was when I was just in one of these stupid parties I was in, and everybody was just being a degenerate, right? And I looked around and I thought, why am I in here? Something in my soul just felt wrong. Like I was like, I shouldn't be in here, bro. And and then I started to realize like, why aren't Muslims doing these things? Because it leads to this. Because everybody is just depressed and anxious all the time when you live your life like this. Out of nowhere, something clicked in my mind and I just started following everything that Allah told us to follow. I started doing my prayers, I started reading the Quran, I started getting extremely disciplined. And when I started living like that, my whole life became full of meaning. I had zero anxiety. My mind literally became iron. Praying, training. That's exactly what you should be doing as a Muslim in self-improvement. And it might look extremely boring to you. You might think, that's such a dull life, it's all black and white. But the truth is, that life you fantasize about, when you are like at the parties, you're thinking about, trying to pick up women, take it from me, that stuff is a million times more boring than living your life true to Allah. Because Allah designed you to live your life like that. You just need to structure your mind in the right way. You have to think about your future family. Think about this, right? Every single time you self-improve, whether you work out, your future family is getting better and better. Your future wife is getting better looking and better looking and better looking because you're becoming a higher value man. And then when you reach that level, your family is going to respect you because you're a G. And then you're going to be able to raise a family who's going to follow Islam the right way, hopefully. And now you actually have a purpose to self-improve. Better than that, your purpose aligns with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to do. At that point, you will develop your own connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most Muslim men already have a connection with Allah just through their family. But it's not real. It's just theoretical because they haven't experienced it. You don't need to go through what I went through to understand this. All you need to do is listen to this video, go out and start praying and start asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. And then out of nowhere, you will start succeeding. If you got any value from this video, subscribe to my channel. And as always, if you got any hate for me, please write it down in the comments and leave me a dislike button.